All right, so we're going to talk about comparing decimals today, a little review section here starting on page 27 in your workbook. It says adding and subtracting decimal numbers. Line up the problems, add or subtract, then check your work by rounding. Okay, so I have 22.7 and 88.95. They are written horizontally. I want to write them vertically, and we're going to put them on this blank sheet of paper. So go ahead and write 22.7. Lining up the decimals, 88.95. Am I adding or subtracting?
Adding.
I am adding. Did anybody add anything there to start?
A 0.
I would add a 0 so you have the same number of decimal points. So Asia, help me out with adding this one, please.
No, 16.
16.
11.
Shh, this is Asia's.
Sorry, I want to figure it out too.
All right, again, make sure your decimal's in the right spot. Look how nice and neat that is. Box that so I can find your answer.
I enjoy doing that too.
We're going to do number 2 as well. So 37.09 it says in the workbook. Minus 25.79, lining up the decimals. Okay, Landon, you're going to help me through this one.
Alright. 0. 3. Wait, no.
I can't take 0 minus 7.
Yep, so you have to make that a 10. Cross out the 7. Make that a 9. Or an 8. Wait, no. First, then you make
It would
it
go
10.
to 6.
Alright, 6.
I'm borrowing from the 7 and making it a 6. All right, now 10 minus 7.
1.
10 minus 7.
10 minus 7. 3. 1. And then 1.
Box it nicely. Question 3. 188.75 plus 122.9. Want to add a 0 right away?
Yes.
Yes. Good decision. Okay. Caleb, help me out with this one.
5, 6, would be 8, 10, would be 11. Then 11 again. 13.
1, 1, 1.
Yeah,
3. Box it. Look how nice and neat that is, Caleb. Isn't that nice? Last one, 107.12 minus 98.9. Want to add a 0 again?
Yes.
All right. Kira, you got this one.
2.
1 minus 9. Can you do that?
8. Wait, what?
Can you take 1 minus 9?
No.
So you got to borrow.
Yes.
Borrow from the 7, make it a 6. Now I have 11 minus 9. You have 11 cookies, I eat 9 of them. How many got left?
3. 2. 2?
2. Can I take 6 minus 8? No. Can I borrow from the 0?
Yes.
No.
Oh, you got borrow 1.
Got off from the 1. Make this a 10. Borrow from the 10. Make it a 9. 16 minus 8.
8.
8.22. is your answer.
Do we do one on our own now?
That was all of them. Scatter plots, we're going to talk a little bit more on Wednesday, but let's just touch on it here on page 27. Wants to know if there's a relationship. A relationship means one goes up and one goes down. Let's say your height and your shoe size. As you get bigger, you get taller, and your shoes get bigger. That would be going up. Something that would be going down. Days in October and the temperature. As the days go, temperature goes down. Okay? If they're scattered, kind of like our one on page 26 is, you would say no relationship. Okay, so looking at number 1, would you say there's a relationship between the things you're graphing there? No, they are scattered. It's a scatter plot. No relationship. Question 2, is there a relationship?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems to be trending down. How about 3?
Yes.
Yeah. Number 2, by the way, looks like my bank account as the days go by after payday. Except it should end way down here. Number 4, relationship? No. They're pretty well all over the place there. Okay, last one in your workbook I want to talk about is on page 28. Making them in order from least to greatest. So I got 4 numbers here. I'm going to give you a little hint. Write them vertically and line up the decimals.
Least greatest.
I'm just writing them in order of what they give me right now. And then I'm going to use that to answer this question from least to greatest. So the first thing, so I wrote all 4 of those numbers down. Do they all have the same number of decimal points? No, so I'm going to add zeros. So they are all the same. So now I'm going to look at the front numbers, or the front numbers. Can you tell which one is the smallest? No, they're all zeros. So I got to go to the second one. What's the smallest? 9, 0, 1, or 0?
0.
There's 2 with 0, so one of these 2 has to be the smallest.
Say 7.
7 is definitely smaller than 9, so that's going to be my first one. What would be second then?
The 9.
The 9. So now I got these 2 left. Which one's smaller? 0.9 or 0.1? 0.1. And then 0.9. Okay, let's do number 2. Again, I'm writing them vertically. If you don't do that, guys, it can get pretty confusing because some of them use the same numbers. I'm going to fill in a bunch of zeros, the ones that are missing, so they have the same number of digits. So, can I tell by looking at the first digit which one is the smallest? No, they're all 1. How about 2050? What's the smallest? So there's 2 with a 0, so it's going to be one of those 2. What's the smallest, 5 or 0?
0.
So this one has to be first. That is the smallest number because 0 is smaller than 5. So 1.005. And then that other one with the 0 has got to be second. What's the next smallest? 1.2 or 1.5? 1.2 and then 1.5. Okay, let's do the last one there, number 4. Zero 0.3, 0.08, 0.003, 0.83. So you can see they kind of use the same digits, 3 and 8 here throughout. I'm going to add a bunch of zeros to help me compare the numbers. Can I tell by looking at the first digit? No, they're all zeros. How about 3, 0, or 8? What's smaller?
3, 0.
Okay, so one of those two is going to be the smallest number. Go to the next digit, 8 or 0, what's smaller?
0.
So this one has to go first. And then followed by the 8. Okay, then I got the top one and bottom one. 0.3 or 0.83, what's smaller? 0.3 or 0.8?
0.3.
That's got to go next. And then 8.3. Okay, bottom of page 28. We have to put these numbers on the line.
Oh, that's easy.
What's that?
Said, oh, that's easy.
Okay. Which one is the smallest? That would go way left.
0.25.
That is incorrect.
Oh, wait, no, never mind.
0.062.
I didn't see that one.
And then your 0.25.
Yeah.
Then what? What would be right after 0.5?
52.
0.52. And then what? What's after 0.52?
0.75.
No.
0.62.
0.62. And then 0.75. Again, you have to be careful.
Because they're smaller than their numbers, so.
Sometimes you can rush on these and you get the incorrect answers. They're not that difficult, but you got to be careful. All right, last thing before you work on your assignment is this note page. Comparing decimals. It says order the decimal numbers from least to greatest. Remember, that always means smallest to biggest. First, rewrite with the same decimal place values for this group. Okay, so that means I need the same amount of decimal points for all of them. Okay, so what is the most amount of decimal points you see? I see 1, I see 2, I see 2, I see 1. How many decimal points?
4.
Pass the decimal. 1, 2, 2, 1.
Oh, there's a comma. Wait.
How many decimal points do I have here? 1. Here?
1.
2. Here? 2. Here? 1. What's the biggest number?
Oh, I get it.
2. Okay, what spot is that?
The tens.
Incorrect. Hundredths.
I'm
2 spot is the hundredths.
Which one are you looking at?
We're on the first question, Landon.
Yeah, but like, are you looking
This one has 1 decimal point. This one has 2. This one has 2.
at?
This one has 1. The biggest one you saw was 2 decimal points. That's a hundredth spot. So we're going to rewrite them all with a hundredth spot, with 2 decimal points. So how do I write 0.2? With 2 decimal points.
0.20.
0.20. This one's already good. This one's already good. How about this one?
0.10.
Perfect. That's the same thing you guys did when we lined them up vertically. Okay, it says we could write them as fractions. Okay, so we did it this way in the book. Added the zeros and looked at the numbers. You can still do that. I'm going to show you one more way to do it. Okay, what is this one as a fraction? 20 hundredths. This one?
1500.
15 hundredths. This one?
0.200.
2 hundredths. This one?
100.
Nope.
Or
10 hundredths.
10 hundredths.
You're just writing the number down.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And now it should be easier to put them in order if you look at the fractions. Which one is the smallest? 20, 15, 2, or 10 hundredths?
2.
2. So that would be my first number. And then which one?
10.
10 hundredths. And then which one?
15.
And then which one?
20.
Okay, so if you prefer that,
Yeah, for that.
you got to make them the same denominator to see that. But that's perfectly fine. Okay, some people prefer just to look at them in order. Go digit by digit. Now we got to put them back into their decimal. So which one at the beginning was 2 hundredths? 0.02. That's got to go first. And then it was 10 hundredths. Which one of those original decimals was 10 hundredths?
0.10.
0.1.
Oh.
Would not be wrong if you added a 0. Then it was 15 hundredths. Which one was that?
0.15.
And then 0.2. Okay, now let's put them on a number line. Which number would be closest to 0?
10.
0.02. And then? 0.1. And then?
0.15.
And then? Alright, what's nice about having them in order, I just wrote them in order on my number line.
Homework.
Alright. Couple things. Number one, adding these up. Again, I'd recommend doing it like this. So you have some room. You have all kinds of paper back there. That's nice and neat, easier for me to find your answer. You gotta do it 4 times. Notice how much room these 4 took up. It does say round the answer to nearest tenth. So if that was the directions here, I would round this to 111.7. I would round it to the nearest tenth, it says. This one would be 11.3. This one would be 311.7. This one would be 8.2. So round to the nearest tenth. Make sure you do that. Activity 2, put them in order from least to greatest. I recommend lining up the decimals, smallest to biggest. You're writing them in order. Again, not a lot of room to write. Might as well put them on that other sheet of paper as well. 3 is pretty self-explanatory. I think you can handle that one. And problem number 4. Remember, adding, subtracting, you need a common denominator. Dividing, there's a 1 dividing one here. You do not need a common denominator for that one. But you do for 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. Okay, any questions?